Doctors have documented cases where after a course of B12 shots, a person's gray hair started turning dark again. That's not an ad, and it's not a fairy tale. It's written up in medical literature. But here's the part nobody tells you. The hair didn't darken because B12 cures gray. It darkened because the shortage had gotten so deep that the body had shut down color production on purpose. It was saving its last resources for things that matter more than hair. And here's the frightening part. While you're standing at the mirror looking at the gray, that same shortage of B12 can already be chipping away at your memory and your balance. The hair turned gray first only because you can see it. Your brain and your legs, you can't. Think about what that actually means. When the body runs low on something it needs, it doesn't shut everything down at once. It triages. It cuts the things it considers optional first. And color in your hair is about as optional as it gets to a body trying to survive. So the gray isn't the problem. The gray is the first visible signal in a whole line of signals, most of which are invisible. By the 8-minute mark, I'm going to show you 3 symptoms that almost everyone our age writes off as just getting old, and they can all trace back to this one shortage. A little later, I'll show you why a normal blood test can say everything's fine when it isn't, and why most doctors won't catch it unless you ask. And by the end, you'll be able to look at your own gray and tell the difference between the harmless kind and the kind that's quietly screaming for help. Miss this, and you might spend the next year blaming age for something that's still fixable today, but won't be in a year. First, let's get one thing clear: fast, because the rest won't make sense without it. B12 is a vitamin your body can't make on its own. You get it from food, mostly meat, eggs, fish, dairy. Simple enough. But here's what changes after 60. Eating it stops being enough. Picture a locked door. The food is on one side, your body is on the other, and you need a key to open the door and let the vitamin through. As we age, the stomach makes less and less of that key. On top of that, the pills millions of us take every day make it worse. Medicine for acid reflux, for diabetes, for blood pressure, they all quietly block that key. So you can eat steak every night and still come up short because the steak's at the door and there's no key to let it in. That's why this hits older people the hardest and why it slips by so quietly. Now, the first real insight, and it's one you can use the moment this video ends. It's not whether your hair is gray, it's how fast it got there. If your hair went gray slowly, one strand at a time, over 10 or 15 years, that's almost certainly just age, and there's nothing alarming about it. But if it went gray in a rush, if you feel like you looked up one day and a year or two had stolen the color, that speed is a clue. Color cells in the hair are greedy. They burn a lot of resources to do their job. So when the body decides to economize, those cells are some of the first to get switched off. Slow gray is the calendar. Fast gray, especially with anything else going on, is the body cutting corners. So the rule to carry with you isn't gray or not gray, it's the speed. Watch the speed. Before we go further, I want you to do something. Just think back for a second. Did your gray come in slowly, strand by strand over the years? Or did you look in the mirror one day and feel like it happened in a flash, in just a couple of years? Write one word in the comments: slow or fast. I genuinely want to see which group is bigger here. And I'll tell you now, getting ahead of myself, for the people who wrote fast, the reason might have nothing to do with age at all. Hang on 1 minute and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Because here's the thing, gray hair is the most harmless signal on the whole list. It's the one that doesn't hurt you. It's what hides underneath it that should have your attention. So let's pull back the curtain. When B12 runs low, 3 things tend to show up, and almost everyone mistakes all 3 for old age. The first is a numbness or a pins and needles feeling in your feet and the tips of your fingers. Not the kind that goes away when you shift your weight, the kind that lingers. triggers. The second is losing your balance, especially in the dark or with your eyes closed. You reach for the wall getting out of bed. You feel unsteady when the lights are off. The third is the worst one, holes in your fresh memory. Not forgetting something from 40 years ago, forgetting the word that was just on your tongue, why you walked into the room, the name of someone you just met. Here's why it happens, and it's actually simple. Think of every nerve in your body as an electrical wire. And B12 is the rubber coating around that wire that keeps the signal clean. When B12 runs out, that coating starts to wear away and the wire underneath gets exposed. The signals get scrambled. That's the numbness. That's the unsteadiness. That's the foggy memory. It's not your mind failing. It's the wires losing their insulation. You can check one piece of this at home, carefully, and only if someone's nearby or you've got something solid to hold. Stand with your feet together, near a wall, and close your eyes. A body with good balance can hold steady. A body running low on this, with the nerves in the legs struggling, starts to sway or list to one side the moment the eyes shut. That's because with the wiring frayed, your legs can no longer tell your brain where they are in space, so the second you take your eyes out of the equation, you wobble. If that's you, it's not proof of anything by itself, but it's a reason to go ask. Let me tell you why this is so dangerous after 60 specifically. It's not the symptoms themselves, it's that they look exactly like the thing we're all afraid of. And so everyone, including the doctor, including your own family, including you, files them under he's just getting old. The unsteadiness, the forgetting, the slowing down, that is the picture of aging in everyone's mind, so nobody looks closer. And here's what makes my chest tight when I think about it. The nerve damage from this shortage is reversible up to a point. Catch it early, restore what's missing, and the wiring recoats itself. The feeling comes back, the fog lifts. But past a certain point, the damage sets, and then it really is permanent. There's a window. And the cruel part is that the window closes silently, while everyone around you is nodding and saying, it's just age. So if any of this is landing, here's exactly what to say so you don't get waved off. Don't walk in and say, I feel tired or I'm getting forgetful, because that gets you a pat on the hand. Say this. I want my B12 checked and I'm having numbness in my feet and changes in my memory, and I'd like to rule out a deficiency before we call it age. Those words do something. They name it and they make it harder to dismiss. Because so much of what we're terrified of, being helpless, being a burden, leaning on our kids, sometimes that isn't age at all. Sometimes it's a shortage you can refill, but only while the window's still open. So let's say this hit home and you go get your blood drawn. Here's the first trap waiting for you. The test comes back and the doctor says your B12 is normal, and you go home relieved. But that normal can be a lie. Here's why. The standard test measures how much B12 is floating in your blood. It does not measure how much is actually getting inside your cells and doing the work. Picture trucks full of supplies parked outside a warehouse. The standard test counts the trucks in the lot and says, plenty of supplies, you're fine. But it never checks whether anything got unloaded and carried inside. You can have a full parking lot and empty shelves. So the blood looks normal while the cells are starving. There are two other markers that actually check the shelves. You don't need to memorize the chemistry. Just ask for them by purpose. Tell your doctor, I'd like to also check the two markers that show whether the B12 is reaching my cells, not just sitting in my blood. They'll know the ones you mean. If those come back off, you've got your answer, even when the first test said you were fine. Let that sink in. Normal on paper, starving in the cells. That gap is where years get lost. Okay, let's say it's confirmed. You're low. Now the honest conversation about your hair. And a lot of people are about to exhale with relief, and I have to be straight with you. Some of that relief is too soon. Here's the truth. Refilling B12 can bring color back to your hair only if two things are true. The gray came from the shortage, and it came recently. In that case, the color cells were never gone, they were just switched off, asleep, and feeding the body what it lacked can wake them up. But if your gray is the ordinary kind, the kind that came from age over many years, then those color cells aren't asleep. They're gone, retired, and no vitamin on earth brings them back. For most of us past 60, that's the situation, and I'm not going to sell you a miracle. The only thing that puts color back into hair whose pigment cells are gone is dye. And let me say this plainly, because some of us carry shame about it. Coloring your hair is not vanity, and it's not giving up. It's a clean, honest choice, the same as wearing glasses when your eyes change. Tint it, dye it, or leave it silver and wear it proudly. All three are fine. What matters is you stop treating the gray as the problem to solve, because it never was. If what I said about the normal test was new to you, give this a like. Not for me. It's so the video reaches other people our age, the ones who keep getting told everything's fine while they slowly get weaker. And subscribe for this reason. I take these signals one at a time, the ones people mistake for old age when they're actually fixable, and I break them down. So you don't have to go hunting for it later. Let it come to you. Now, what to actually do about it, step by step. Here's the mistake people make. They hear low B12, they buy a bottle off the shelf, they swallow a pill, and they figure they've handled it. But remember the locked door and the missing key. If the reason you're low is that your body can't absorb it from your gut, then a pill that goes through that same gut can walk right past the problem. That's why the first move isn't the pill. The first move is finding out why you're short. Is it the missing key in your stomach? Is it one of your medications quietly blocking it? Is it simply not enough in your food? The answer changes everything. For some people, eating more does the job. For many older people, it doesn't, and the body needs it delivered in a way that skips the broken door entirely, which is something your doctor decides, not a shelf. So the plan is, get the right tests, find the cause, and let a doctor match the fix to the cause, not the other way around. Remember that person from the start, the one whose hair darkened after the shots? Shots worked for them because their door was broken and the shot went around it. That's the whole point. The fix has to match the reason. So let's pull all of this into one picture because I think it changes how you see the mirror from now on. We've been taught to look in the mirror and judge what we see. Too gray, too old, too tired. But the mirror was never a beauty report. It's a dashboard. The same way a dashlight on a car isn't the problem, it's the message about the problem. Your gray, the speed it came in, the numbness in your feet, the wobble in the dark, the word you can't find, those aren't separate complaints of old age. They're warning lights from one system running low. And once you see them that way, the fear flips into something you can act on. You don't need to ask, am I getting old? You ask three things. Did my gray come fast? Is anything off in my feet or my memory? And have I actually had the deeper test, not just the parking lot count? That's your read of the dashboard. That's the difference between guessing and knowing. So here's the last thing I'll leave you with. Gray hair never made anyone a burden. What makes us a burden is the thing underneath it that everybody overlooked, called it age, and let it run when it could have been caught. The silver on your head might be nothing but the calendar doing its work, and that's fine. Wear it well. Or it might be the one light on the dashboard you can still do something about. And your hair is just the start of it. Your nails, your tongue, the color of your skin, they're all on that same dashboard, telling on the body before the body says a word. That's what I want to walk through with you next.